$7,500 is how much money it took for me to invest in real estate. A lot of times you only need 25 to 30% down to buy a house. You can put down as little as 3.5% to buy a house. As little as 3% down. So if that's a $100,000 house, you only got to put down $3,500 and then you can be able to buy that house. It's not as much money as we think. We needed less money than we thought when we bought our first house. And this was interesting, right? When it comes to investing in real estate, you can buy a piece of property anywhere in the country, right? So Miss Mary, Jonathan's co-worker, was from Toledo, Ohio, right? So all of her real estate properties were in Toledo, Ohio, a smaller town. So real estate prices are a lot cheaper. She had a property manager there, which means somebody that can go in there and fix the properties, help you collect the rent, all of that stuff. She gave us the free game plan, right? And we bought our first house in Toledo, Ohio. This is our first house that we bought, right? 960 Berry Street in Toledo, Ohio. I was like, I'm trying to say like $50,000 to buy a house. She was like, why 50? I'm like, well, that's what I think I need. I went and researched in Oak Cliff in Texas, and I seen like some of the older houses that needed work were about $50,000. I'm kind of scared to get a loan. So I'm like trying to save $50,000 in cash. She was like, nah, boy, you tripping. Can anybody guess how much I paid for that first house? $15,000. We bought our first real estate property for $15,000. Me and Jonathan with half on it. So $7,500 is how much money it took for me to invest in real estate. $7,500 may sound like a lot of money, but once you get that first professional job, you're making $50,000, $60,000. If you do the things that we talked about in session 1, if you have roommates, if you're able to keep your cost of living down, you don't go out there and buy that car, that $7,500, y'all seen in one stock, just one stock, I had $4,000. I was ready to buy the house right away. I just didn't have the knowledge. And she was like, yeah, I got properties for $15,000. We put $1,000 in renovation, put some paint on the wall, clean the floors up, and we rented it out for like $800 a month. This is our second house that we bought, right? Second house that we bought was $60,000. We were like, at that time, I think we probably had like $40,000 saved. We were like, we could go out there and, save up a little bit more and pay cash, or we can go out there and get a loan on it. So, hey, we went and got a loan on it, right? So $60,000 house, we put down 25%. We put down $12,000. We actually put down less for this house to buy a better house in a better neighborhood that we're going to get more rent than the first one for less money because we used our credit. So the first house, 2-bedroom, we paid $15,000 cash for it full. This one is a $60,000 house, better neighborhood. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath compared to a 2-1, right? It was $60,000. We only put down $12,000. It's crazy how cheap the payment is for the mortgage, right? So we only financed $47,000 over 30 years. Our mortgage every month is like $200, but we're making $900 in rent. So the tenant pays for the mortgage and then we get to keep $700. A mortgage is rent you pay. You know what rent is, right? You pay rent every single month to live at a property, but you don't own that, right? When you make a mortgage payment, you're paying down on a loan for a property that you will own. Right? So if you're renting an apartment, you're never going to actually own that apartment. You're just renting, you pay rent every month. If you go out there and you put money down on a house, you sign out the paperwork to buy it, boom, you buy the house, then you have a mortgage payment and you pay it. One thing that's interesting about mortgage payment versus rent payments, oftentimes your rent will go up every single year because they can. Your mortgage payment, once you lock in and get your mortgage, outside of getting some really bad loans, if you get a pretty conventional loan, right, your mortgage payment will stay the same. Got a quick example. One of my mentors in Houston has a 4,100 square foot house, 5 bedrooms, theater room, and all that stuff. His mortgage payment is $1,400 because he bought his house in 2019 before Corona, right? People rental houses right now for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, a third of that square footage is $2,000 in the same neighborhood, right? Because you lock into it to be able to buy your house. So we went and bought this second house. And then we started having issues with that first house, right? It wasn't in the best neighborhood. We only paid $15,000 for it. It was getting broken in a couple of times and the tenants were kind of crappy. So we were like, hey, we're going to sell it, right? So we bought this house in 2019 for $15,000. We listed it in 2021, just 2 years later, for $35,000. So we made $20,000 for owning that home for 2 years. But guess what? We made rent every single month for 2 years. And then we still sold it for $35,000. That's how you can build wealth. And it all started from $7,500 each.